What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So part 2 or part 3 or wherever the heck we're at on Johnny's Mustang. So I got the boost controller all installed. Everything's good to go on that. I got a switch for it, for the activation switch, and then for the clutch input switch. If you guys don't know, you have to have a switch on those in order to adjust the boost controller, and then you got to turn it on when you want it to activate the ramp and things like that. So got that all installed. I still haven't made a mount for it, but I'm gonna look online tonight, see if I can find something, or go to the store, see if there's something I can make for it. But everything's pretty much good to go on there. Show you, it's just kind of chilling in there right now, but that's what it looks like. And it's got a nice little harness going down there. It's pretty much the best I could think of for not having like a permanent mounting solution. Just these AMS 1000s have so much wires, and they go to the side, whereas like the AMS 2000, it all goes to like a plug and everything. But like I said, you want to be able to pull this out so you can adjust it, so you're not having to like reach down in there and press all the buttons. Whereas me, like, I permanently mounted mine up there at one point, but he's got all factory stuff, so I don't want to put it out here. And I think it's cool that it'll be hidden. So we'll get a mount made for this so that at least it's nice and secure when he's not using it. But for now, it's gonna stay in there. The only thing I was waiting on to finish the actual boost controller install was the CO2 fittings, and they're around here somewhere. But anyways, I think Nick's gates are over here, so I can give you guys an idea. So typically these little ports on the side are 1/8 inch NPT, but these really small gates are actually 1/16 of an inch NPT. So had to order some special fittings for that. Not special, but they're definitely not common, especially for CO2 push to lock fittings. So got those ordered and they came in. But today what we're gonna work on, and yes, this is getting shipped out soon. It's finally on a crate. It's ready to go, just waiting for it to get picked up. But today what we're gonna do is get the back end up on some jack stands, get the wheels off, and we're gonna switch his springs. He did a taller spring because he runs a 315/50 17. So if you guys want pretty much the best size tire for a 17-inch wheel and you want to hook, get a ET Street R and get a 315/50 17, and these things hook. People have been going teens on these. So super good tire, really good size if you're trying to run a 17-inch. And the good thing about running a 17-inch is you fit a lot of like daily driver and true street rules because they're 17s. And the 17s look really good on these cars. They fill out the wheel well, really good. We may have to raise the front a little bit. I do need to add some air to those tires. They look a little flat in the front, but the front's pretty low. So I'm afraid with the new springs that he got, the Steeda springs he got, plus the spacer, it's gonna look a little high in the rear end. So we may have to bring up the front just a little bit so it looks good. But anyways, that's what we're gonna get done today. So got the Steeda springs in there. They were maybe, I don't even think 1/4 of an inch, maybe 1/8 of an inch taller than the BMRs, just standing next to each other. But I haven't looked up the spring rates. I'm guessing they're a little bit stiffer maybe, and that's how they're a little bit taller. But the spacers, he actually already had a spacer on there, and it's like, I measured them both. I definitely want to do the taller one, but this one was like 0.376 of an inch, and that one was 0.379 of an inch. So we'll take it. But this is what Lund runs on his setup with the same size wheels and tires. So this is definitely, I think, the route to go for the 315/50 tire. I don't think the springs is gonna make a huge difference. I've ran BMRs with super good luck, but this is what Johnny wants to run. And I don't think you can go wrong with either one, honestly, as long as you got your shocks tuned properly. Here's something, if you guys have ever seen this happen before. This is not me fixing it. I don't know who fixed it this way, but I guess it holds up for now. It doesn't look like the safest option, but it's holding up. These two bolts for the shock bracket actually ripped out of this sheet metal. And I've seen it happen often. Now, I've seen it happen with BMR, Steeda, UPR. Anybody that makes a bracket for these, I've seen them all rip out. So it's not one company versus the other. It's this metal back here is super thin, and I don't know if it's the weight of the IRS when it goes up and down with the shock and it just pulls on it. But I've seen tons of people get these ripped out. So I know he's going to take this to either Joe or some type of weld shop or chassis shop to like actually reinforce this and rebuild those. But this is kind of what some local shop did, so just so he could get running. But definitely this is not the safest option here. But yeah, pretty scary that that happens. But like I said, it's not one company. I've seen it happen on all companies because I was on this big thread for a while of this happening to people. Now, this never happened to my car, and I'm guessing just because my car is lighter, or was lighter, possibly is a reason. And then I always had the Vikings that had the built-in bracket across the top. So it was just a bracket with two holes, literally exactly how the bottom is. See how the bottom already has a bracket on it? And you just bolt it to the lower A-arms. That exact bracket was up here, but it was long enough to reach these two bolts, and then you don't have these reinforced brackets. So kind of interesting. So something to look out for if you guys have these types of brackets, or just keep an eye on your shocks. But yeah, I'm guessing it's this thin metal back here, and there's just, you know, it's just kind of like that, holding the bolt, and all this weight of the IRS in the car separating and pulling on it all the time. I'm guessing eventually rips those out. So something to keep an eye on. But got this side already in with the spring and the spacer. Make sure you get that rubber isolator back in there. And then what you want to do, I've shown this like 1,000 times, but make sure the spring is seated and hits that one. And then there's another one at the bottom. You want to make sure that the spring is seated and hits that one.
Oh, when you just barely have enough hose to get to the last fitting. Woo! Damn, that was close. So the only, not problem, but some type of problem, I guess, with these mid-mount kits is anywhere you need to run lines, you know, there's just so much heat down here. You got the transmission, the engine, exhaust, dump tubes. So I tried to zip tie everything up and out of the way. I did put some titanium heat wrap around this line just because it goes right across the bell housing, plus there's a hot oil line right next to it, which shouldn't get too hot, but I'm sure it gets pretty warm. I had to add some tape because it was kind of fraying, so it's not the prettiest thing, but there's those lines. Obviously the dump tubes aren't back on yet because I was just trying to route everything. So, and then to that gate, and then this T is going to be the one that goes up to the solenoid up top. And I got the, I don't know if I showed the dome pressure sensor, tapped it right in the middle, 1/8 inch NPT. And actually the reason why this fitting is different, and I gotta tell Johnny, not that it's bad or anything, but I broke one of these fittings off. So I told you guys I had to get 16th inch NPT fittings, and they only made them in this like hard plastic, which is fine. It's a nicer material, but I believe they were Chinese made, and yeah, old buddy snapped in there. Wasn't even tightening it that tight, but it snapped in there. And so obviously no one locally has a 16th inch NPT tap. So what I did was just actually tapped it for 1/8 inch NPT, the correct size of all the fittings we have, and it works just fine. So the only thing I do like about these ones is they have a nice like snap when you push them in, whereas like these have this, when it's just hanging out, this top little metal piece that clips is just kind of loose, whereas these blue ones actually snap when you push them in, which is kind of nice. But anyways, we can always upgrade those. The reason why I didn't actually, because some people may be thinking, why didn't you change all of them to 1/8 inch NPT? Well, you can see this bottom fitting is already rubbing the ring of this, and so the 1/8 inch would obviously be a little bit bigger. So there's just not even, look, there's not even enough room to make that into an 1/8 inch NPT. Look how big that hole is. compared to that one. So that would be the only issue. Because it was pretty easy to tap this actually. Just drill, I forget what size drill bit it is, maybe like 21/64 or something like that. But you just drill it out and then tap it with 1/8 inch -27 NPT. And that's what I did for the dome pressure sensor also. So I'm gonna finish zip tying these all up. And yes, race cars are held together by zip ties if you didn't know. So I'm gonna zip tie all this up and get the dump tubes routed, get the exhaust back on, put the O2s back on, and then start testing the CO2 system. Alright guys, so everything's done underneath. I was gonna hardline everything up top. I really wanted to fix like all these vacuum lines up here, hardline the Hobbs switch like I talked about, but we ran out of the push to lock line, so I told Johnny if he wants to come back or if he wants to keep it here another couple days, I'll order some and we'll switch all the rubber hose that he has, like to the blow-off valve, to, he's got 2 blow-off valves, to both blow-off valves, to the Hobbs switch back there, to the fuel pressure regulator. We can turn all that stuff into push to lock if he wants. Like I said, just, I mean, it looks a little cleaner, it's easier to use, and you don't have to worry about plastic tees breaking and things like that, because essentially that's how everything's tied in, is just with plastic tees. There's like 3 down there. But that's kind of what you got to do. That stuff works. Like I said, just it's not the prettiest looking. And those plastic tees, those white ones and the ones you get at the auto parts store, they can break a lot, especially if you tug on them. But is what it is. It works. He's got the option if he wants to. We'll do that later on. But everything's back together. I'm going to get the car back down. I already torqued the rear wheels back on after we did the suspension upgrades. So yeah, everything's done underneath. I had to add some extra heat stuff to the bottom as I put the down pipes on and the dump tubes. I was just kind of worried with those push to lock lines. So got some heat wrapping stuff under there. I'm gonna get it jacked up, get the car down. His bottle, he said he filled it, but it is dead. There's no air, no CO2. So I don't know if the regulator was leaking or if the bottle just maybe wasn't closed all the way and it just had a slow leak on the way here. Not sure what the deal was, but I put my bottle in for now so we can go test it. So my bottle's in there right now and we'll get his filled later today if they're open. I can't remember if they're open on Saturdays or not, but you guys will see in the next video us actually driving it, testing out the boost controller, and possibly going to Caffeine and Cars if the weather holds out. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully you enjoyed the upgrades on Johnny's car. But it is officially done for now. You guys will see it driving in the next video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. See you on the next one.